Hey everybody, Tim Kawakami here, the North and South podcast with my co-host, the animated, the cheery, the I don't know if you can see that video, but it's got me. He popped up on the screen and I lit up because Dylan Hernandez is lit up with a Christmas sweater that's like really giving me good vibes and I think hives because I'm allergic to that kind of crap. But because literally I'm allergic to that kind of weave and thick sweater. But Dylan, what makes you so Christmassy this morning?
Well, my kid honestly dared me to wear this. We did get this. I had to record something yesterday at the LA Times studios.
Oh,
So
is there
to
an LA
anyone,
Times still? Is there an
to,
LA Times?
there
There
is,
used
and
to.
to people
Okay.
who say that we don't have money, I mean, look at this. It's not just a sweater; it lights up, man. So
Does it
we
have
are.
the LA Times logo anywhere in there, or is it just this thing?
It's just this,
Yeah,
but
okay.
but
Oh
I'm
wow.
wearing it, so that's what gives it the
People, if you
value.
can possibly watch the video, I don't know where you might be able to. I would watch this video because it's Dylan looking his. I mean, if you want to see Dylan as a pure Christmas spirit that we are looking at right, not the evil spirits either, the positive, happy Dylan spirits. It's as happy as Dylan gets, if
Yeah,
possible. If
if
possible.
possible, if possible.
But yeah, good cheer. We got some things going on. Everything's going on, but let's obviously start with 49ers Rams. They just played. It seems like a while ago, but it was less than a week ago, Thursday night. Rams win, 49ers lose. 49ers have a player quit in the middle of the game. Season's essentially over. It's been over for a while. As you're watching, let's just do it this way. I'll talk about my view of the Rams. You talk about your view of the 49ers because we talk about these teams, each other all the time. You're looking at this. You know how the season's gone. You've talked to me about the 49ers. You've watched. What's your view of where the 49ers are right now?
Yeah, just the whole. I guess what I was surprised at is how, given that this has been like a pretty good run for the Niners, right? I mean, forget about take the season aside. Under Shanahan, it's been like a good run. I guess I was surprised at just how when Debo Samuels got booed, dropping that ball, right? Like you feel now that this has kind of turned into this this feels, again, watching it from here, this feels like a Boston type of reaction, right? Where everything's going bad and now we hate you. And I do think that as much as teams talk about like blocking out outside noise and stuff, you can only do that so much. I mean, those are your paying customers, so the ownership is obviously going to pay attention to that. And I do think that you can't that stuff just finds its way of seeping into locker rooms, right? The energy kind of around there. And so obviously this hasn't been a good season. I guess I was just surprised at just how upset people are. And now, with Campbell quitting in the middle of the game, it just feels like everything is just kind of unraveling in this really, really kind of unsightly way. And again, if I were just watching that game by itself and not kind of understanding the context of this, right, what the team's accomplished under Shanahan, I would think, okay, this is like a bad team that's bad again, and right, the fans are just kind of fed up with it.
It's like a Jets-like thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I guess that's the part that has kind of surprised me. It's just how, again, I don't expect the players or the organization to be happy about what's going on. I guess I'm surprised at just how angry the fans are.
Being in the middle of it, Dylan, I am not surprised. And I was not surprised. I mean, I don't think the booing was, I didn't write about it. It happens. A guy drops what would have been a touchdown pass after he complains about not getting opportunities. I think the 49er fans are booing the moment. Yeah, booing Debo some. Players get booed. Like this happens if you drop a touchdown pass in a game where the offense can't really get moving. I didn't think it was that big a deal. It just happens. Certainly there's anger at Debo. There's more anger really at Aiyuk, who's hurt, because his kind of contract stalemate is what gave maybe the start of the bad vibes of this season. It really was, wait a minute, what's going on here? Then he gets hurt, so kind of off the field of play, but definitely in the minds of 49er fans. And you have obviously the other injuries, and you have so many other things. I saw it kind of as a cleaving point. Like if they let it all go, then there's an issue. Then it's Jets-like. Then it's whatever bad situation in a high-profile moment. But they were pissed off about Campbell. I mean, they were furious. Like the leaders really were unified that this is not the way we do it. Even Travis Ward, who probably is not going to be on the team next season, just contractually, was like this. It was like the harshest. Like this was sucker stuff. This is what you can't quit on your team when you dress, especially when you dress. Guys get hurt. You're needed, and you're like there going, I don't think I'm going to play. If they just let it go, and I hate to say like he would have been criticized, but not in these harsh terms, not by these players. Maybe it would be a bigger deal. Maybe if you knew that Debo, he's having a tough time. He's having a tough moment. He might not be on the team next season. It's easy for me to say, okay, this is when 2025 really begins. Right there. Where's your mindset? Who are your leaders? Are you still organized? Are you still structured? I think they are. Again, we'll see. They're going to play in Miami on Sunday. It all unravel. I don't think it will. I've been saying that for several weeks now. I mean, I've been calling the season. I've been saying the season's over 3-4 weeks ago. How do you play? That wasn't. It was a bad offensive game, but it was a pretty good defensive game. So there's little things they can point to saying this is where we're going to be better next season. We'll see. I could be wrong. I don't think it's all unraveling. I really don't. Now, if it happens again next season, very different story. Just 2 straight seasons of this. I think they'll have McCaffrey back next season. They'll have Trent Williams. All these things that we've been talking about all year. I think they'll re-sign Purdy. I just wrote a column about that. I think that's going to actually happen pretty quickly at a pretty good number, not the top number. And then they go into 2025. I really think 2025 started in their minds like the moment Devondre Campbell said forget about it. And then they either you click in saying this is not who we are, or you let it go. You go, you know what, lost season. And they did not do that. I could be wrong, but that's why I feel. But I get the interpretation. I get you're watching. That's why I asked you, what do you look with the scene when you see this? And here's what I see when I see the Rams. They're just really well coached. Really well coached. Don't quite have all the horses. Seeing Cooper Kupp get wiped off, 0 catches is fascinating to me. Is seeing, knowing how he destroyed the 49ers in the past. That NFC Championship game, he was undefendable. If he's not 102% of himself, if he's even 99% of himself, 49ers win that game. And he was nothing on that game. Maybe he was blocking, whatever. I know he still does stuff, but he's not the guy anymore. Yeah. Stafford still got that arm. Puka Nacua. But they weren't doing a lot of offense, right? They were doing less than the 49ers for most of that game. They couldn't score a touchdown. Defensively, though, they just got a lot of different guys who do a lot of interesting things. They're well coached. It's just there's a baseline. I would have thought the same about a Shanahan team, but this 49ers team got a little top heavy, star, and then you lose the stars. You don't have exactly what you want underneath that. The Rams lose Aaron Donald, but they had depth, or they had some guys they could just plug right in there. They've been drafting well without even a first-round pick for 7 years, and I give them credit. This is a solid franchise. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? No, but you can just see the thinking. You can see the discipline. You can see just the planning that goes into it. That McVay and his guys are just. I think there's a solid base, and I think this season, other seasons are proving it too. But I'd even say throw out that Super Bowl win. You can't. It's great, but they just know how to structure a team, and that's what I see at. And they might win the division. They're not very good, but they might win the division. Who knows? But I just see solidness out of it, and that's with a guy. Cooper Kupp might be done. I don't know how much he's got left in him as an elite receiver. And they just let's keep going. Let's keep moving. There's other ways we can do this. I respect McVay, always have. And that game just reinforced it to me.
Yeah, they're not going to kind of make that rash move, right? Because, we talked about Cooper Kupp, I think, before the season even started, right? What do you do with this guy, or heading into the trade deadline, right? What do you do with this guy? And that's kind of the thing, you mentioned the blocking, right? These are little things. And you see it even, Kyron Williams, right? Not the biggest guy, whatever. Now, he did run for I think he ran for 100 yards, right? I do think.
No, I don't think. I think it was okay. It wasn't great.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But that's the thing. The one thing that you see, kind of in addition to that stuff, though, is that he does do those little things, right? And you talk about the team being well coached, and I do think that Kupp has kind of brought a lot of that type of value to the team in terms of this is one of your signature players in theory when he's going downfield and making the types of blocks that he does. I do think it kind of encouraged, right? It's you talk about culture, right? We're just talking about culture. It really kind of reinforces that. Now it kind of gets to the point though, right, where his slippage as a receiver has kind of gotten to the point where okay, maybe you probably need a little bit better value for your dollar. And so, maybe, I am very kind of curious how they kind of proceed from here, because they this organization, you talk about kind of the discipline that they have. Again, they don't do things that are rash. They draft really well. They find guys that are going to kind of plug in and fit into their system, and so, I don't see Kupp, gone necessarily unless, right, they find something.
Gonna adjust the salary. Yeah,
right,
they're gonna adjust the salary, and
yeah.
I think he'd want to stay there. I think McVay would want him to be there. It is an interesting comparison to Debo Samuel, who's meant so much to the 49ers and has hurt the Rams in many times the same way Kupp has hurt the 49ers. And he's in a situation, obviously, with a big drop, terrible statistical season, yet he's one of Shanahan's favorite players. He's been so important to this team. They've gone to him in big games so many different times. He's produced. He has not done it. How many times have I said, like, okay, this seems like a Debo game, and it just has not happened. He does not have the same acceleration. He does not run through tackles like he used to. This is what happens to older receivers. This is why the negotiation a couple years ago was so hard. He's like, you're wearing me out. Like, if you want me to take all these hits, I'm going to lose some of my prime. Well, this is now happening. This is why you negotiate so hard. He's taken all these hits. I think they'll try to bring him back in a similar way. I think the Rams might try to bring back Kupp at a lower salary. 49ers could try to do that with Debo. Of course, when you do that, you run the risk of the player saying, just cut me then. Just cut me, the way the 49ers did with Eric Armstead. They lost him. They did the same thing with Kyle Juszczyk, and they bring him back. It could happen. I think Kupp is more likely to stay with the Rams than Debo would be to stay with the 49ers at a lower salary, but we'll see. I don't know what either one of their market is. Like, Cooper Kupp hits the market. Nobody's giving him 20 million, 25 million a year. That is not happening. And Debo absolutely is not getting that. So we'll see. It's just interesting to look at these two receivers who are both so prominent for so many years, who have hurt the other team so often. And like, I don't know about either one of them. I just say, I think McVay has done a better job of working other elements in the offense than Shanahan has. Shanahan has not had, I don't think he said he had a great year. He has not had a great year. This has not been a spectacular year for the Rams, but it's been solid. Like, they beat the 49ers twice. They're right there on the field. You flip those two games, the 49ers are vying for the division championship. They lost both games, and they're out. And they could have won both games. We've gone through this over and over again. They could have beat the Seahawks twice. They only beat them once. They could have beat the Cardinals once. They've lost to them. They play them again. They could have beat the Rams twice. They lose both. This is right there. That's the season right there. All else, those games are where the season turned. And the Rams have won some of those games. So I give them credit. Your other NFL team, Dylan, a little shaky now, the Jim Harbaugh Chargers. I think Herbert's banged up, right? He's that ankle. Yep. They don't have J.K. Dobbins. Clearly, offense is struggling. Was not a good game for them, though. He loses to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not a great team. Offense is a problem, right, Dylan? Like, what are they going to do with that offense?
Yeah, I mean, as it was, right, even with Dobbins there, I think you kind of looked at that team, and it's like, okay, well, they don't have, like, the perimeter threats that you would want, right, with a quarterback like Herbert. The Dobbins thing has just kind of made it worse. And they got a sneaky big game tomorrow, right? It's Denver. Because after that, they got a couple of soft touches. It's New England. It's Las Vegas. They should win, well, I mean, who knows now? But, in theory, they should win those. They should be in the playoffs. They beat Denver. Now it looks like, right, they would probably hit Pittsburgh in the playoffs. They lose this game. They're going to Buffalo, right? And I think, we're kind of talking about degrees of difficulty here. It gets
actual degrees also, by the
actual degrees, right?
And I want you to be wearing that sweater when you're covering those games, Dylan.
Yeah, you know what? I might. But yeah, so this is going to be kind of a sneaky big game here, I think, right? It's going to be.
And it was moved up. It was moved up Sunday to Thursday. That is brutal. First time the NFL's ever done that. To a month notice, but still, it's tough to all of a sudden turn around and play on a Thursday. But it's in LA, right? So
it is. Yes.
Denver is at a disadvantage. They got to fly out, and they're going to have a short week. It's brutal. The team that wins that, though, is going to be advantage because you get the extra days off after that. Man, that's a gutty game. I don't know who's going to win that game. That's a gutsy game. Is McConkey healthy? I'm not McConkey. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So they have one guy. I don't know about anyone else on that offense on the perimeter. Herbert, limping through it. This is a gut game. Like I've talked about, Harbaugh wins gutty games. That's one they got to just gut out, figure out a way, have somebody make a big defensive play, get a turnover, win it 17-13. It really is their situation. But I don't know. Pittsburgh's not a great matchup for them either in the playoffs.
Yeah, right. So we're talking about, I think, right, Buffalo, that's, you can almost peg, that's okay. Season's kind of over here. I think either way, though, right? I don't know. Harbaugh wouldn't like it being put in these terms, but like, they did what they had to do this year in terms of just kind of redefining the culture and stuff, right? I mean, this is, I think there are multiple points this season where, if they were the team they were last year, they probably would have folded, right? And just like things would have just gone bad and just kind of fallen off the skids. And again, I was kind of impressed with that win in Atlanta, right? That followed that real reality check that they got in Baltimore.
They had to win that one.
Yeah.
The talent is not great. They really need one or two more receivers. They could use another running back. We know but the investments in the offensive line, like that is a long-term investment. That offensive line is going to play throughout, and it's going to be there for several more years. Kind of like, Dallas built it around the offensive line. Indianapolis has built it around an offensive line. Then it doesn't guarantee a Super Bowl. It guarantees you're going to be there. You're going to have teams you're going to beat just because you can run the ball. You got to have running backs too. But okay, we got Jim Harbaugh here to join you, Dylan. He has a little beef with you. No, we'll see. I like them tomorrow, but man, that one is gonna be a tough game. I can just see it really, really going down to the end, and nobody having no idea, and someone's gonna make a play.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Given that you just saw the Rams, okay, so it feels like the Rams, right? They got like young players kind of spread around. Maybe nobody obviously, right? There's no like Justin Herbert or Derwin James in that group, whatever. But they got a lot of solid players. You look at the Chargers, who are probably a little bit more top heavy right now. Kind of going forward, who do you think is kind of set up better?
Oof, great question. I would say the Chargers, just because Herbert's younger. Now he's getting banged up, but if you really can see, they just get a good receiver. It doesn't have to be a great receiver. Things open up because you can get running backs. You can draft a running back. What was Kyron Williams, like 6th round pick, something like that? Like you can get a running back if you know what you're doing, and Harbaugh knows what he's doing with running backs. And then just figure out how to get yourself a top receiver. I think the ceiling is a lot higher. I think the Rams, we'll see what they can get. I think this is about what they are, which is I respect this. And you get hot, maybe you get yourself through the couple of rounds in the playoffs. But that's probably it, the extent of it. Chargers are, you start talking about it. It's Steelers, Ravens, Chiefs, Bills. That's a tougher conference right now. Feels like just deeper, maybe. Because Detroit's banged up on defense. You don't know exactly about Minnesota. Like they're at the top end, Philly. They're both good. I think the AFC top end's a little tougher. But I'd say Chargers just because they're in the first year of Harbaugh. He tends to peak in year 2, year 3. And because Herbert's just younger, and I can just see him extending this a little more than Stafford. Stafford, 2 years ago, we thought Stafford was done. Now, credit to him, he's come back from an elbow injury and looks really good. But one hit could change that very quickly. Whereas Herbert, I think, has 5-6 years where you just know he's going to be in his prime. I would guess. But, I'm Harbaugh biased too, right? I've yet to see a Harbaugh team collapse. I've never seen it. It doesn't happen. His Harbaugh teams keep churning. They keep going. They fight through it. I think they're going to do it this season. We'll see how far they're going to play out. I think they're definitely going to do it next season.
You mentioned just kind of the pounding that Herbert's been taking. I remember, I think it was in his first or second year, I wrote a column just about like, this guy's not going to last, right? If he goes like this. And here we come in, right? Harbaugh in theory was, okay, we're going to play off the run, basically, kind of take the load off of Herbert in a ways, right? Be more selective and stuff and how we attack. And yet he's still kind of getting banged up. Are you concerned at all about like how, like his longevity, I guess?
Yeah,
like,
I would be. This? Yeah, I would be. And this is me saying it. I don't love him on that artificial turf. They can't do anything about it. Seems like that's where you get your ankle twists and and I'm not saying that every injury he's ever had is because of the artificial turf. Clearly you get hurt on grass too, but I'd be worried about it because you get enough of these injuries and then you start getting flinchy. Then you have the big injury and you're out for the year. I would think they're in really constant communication with him about how to avoid these hits, how to get rid of the ball faster. Don't always look for a play downfield. Don't necessarily try to run over somebody, get out of bounds. Guys do it. He tends to like, being in the middle of it, which is good, which gets you extra first down sometimes, but it also gets you those hits. And he's a physical quarterback, but Josh Allen's a physical quarterback too. And somehow he does not quite take those same hits. Now he's playing on grass. This is me again. I really do think grass is better for everybody. It keeps you healthier, but they're not there. They're not going to be on anything but artificial turf at home. It's the way it goes. I would be some concern. I absolutely would have some concern about that, given how good he is. If he wasn't as good, you don't have the same concern. But you have the concern because he's good, because he's getting paid so much, and they don't have a way other than him. They just don't. Now build up the way other than him. That's what the offensive line's about. That's what get that running game going. Now it hasn't quite gotten there. It's year one. Build that up where you can run the ball 30 times and throw the ball 20 instead of the opposite way around. And I'm sure that's what they want. But it's year one. Let's see what they look like in year two.
Big trade for the Warriors.
Yep.
Brought back one of our guys in a way. Melton was at USC.
Okay.
And got he got put on some kind of weird leave thing because they weren't sure about a benefits that they were investigating.
The old days, the ancient days when oh my God, they got an extra benefit for playing college sports. Oh no.
Yeah, so he got a handful of games at SC. So I think I
liked him. I liked him at SC. I
did too. I thought he was
player,
yeah. But they got another guy. Another one of our guys to replace him.
Yeah, he got hurt. He's out for the year. They traded that contract, which is very smart for Dennis Schroder, who's making almost identical money. The only way they could do this. Schroder, he referred to the Warriors-Lakers series in 2022, where he was a big part of it. Defensively, it wasn't so much offensively; it was defensively. He'd go, throw him at Steph, and he bugs you. And he's not maybe a great team defensive player, but he can go guard the ball. He had his intro press conference yesterday. Very charming guy. He's very talkative. I appreciate that. He's different than the kind of player the Warriors normally like. They like the kind of pass. Everybody share the ball, body movement, joy. And he's kind of get out of my way, give me a screen and let me go. But they need that. And I don't think he's the final piece of a championship, but I think he's exactly what they need. I've kind of been saying it for a few weeks now. I've said it a couple of years for now. I just think he's different than they've got, and they need that. They've got guys who don't want to pass, don't want to shoot. Brandon Przemski does not want to shoot. Gary Payton II does not want to shoot. Moses Moody isn't that interested in shooting. They got a bunch of guys who maybe not. And defenses know that and don't have to guard them. They have to guard Dennis Schroder. So when Steph Curry, as Schroder himself says, gets blitzed, which is double teamed on a pick, 85 to 90% of the time, it's 4-on-3 on the other side. Well, Dennis Schroder, if he's one of those four, he's going to go to the basket. They really need that. He's going to do goofy things. He's going to be mouthy, but they need all of that. This is too nice, too easy a team to defend, too kind of passive, and he's not passive. So I think it'll be really interesting first game tomorrow in Memphis, but I think this is exactly what they need, kind of the personality they need. Doesn't mean he's there long-term. They might even trade him in February, Dylan, because that contract can be traded for something big. But barring that, I think he's exactly what they need, and we're going to see a difference. It goes along with Przemski's just collapsed. His career is just, I thought there was some limitations to it anyway, because he just doesn't shoot very much. You're 6'3", you got to be able to shoot. The Warriors thought otherwise. They really had high hopes for him. That has not happened. So you pivot. So you go get someone else, and you see if Przemski can work through it. See if some other players can rise. You got Kuminga, still a huge question mark. But this is what you want if you are struggling. Change up the chemistry a little bit. Change up the mix. See what you can do with a new kind of player. Close games. They've lost 5-6 games just because they could not put the ball in the basket at the end of games. They're a really good offense with Steph on the floor. They're a terrible offense with Steph off the floor. This changes that. So we'll see. It's interesting. And I do think that 22 series was interesting to the Warriors, because if you think the Schroeder's just a shoot guy, that's all he cares. He's a hired gunner. What does he care about anything? He was playing defense, and he was not shooting the ball very much, here and there, but not that much. And they appreciated that. And also they appreciate that he lights them up every time since then. And the other various teams he's been on. It was funny, hey, Steve, you worried that Schroeder's been on so many different teams, 8 teams in his career in 12 years. And Kurt's I was on 6 teams. So, you know what? Was I a problem too? So it's very good answer. Schroeder's had a different kind of career, but he's only 31, and I think he's getting better and better. So this is a solid move for them. Do you think you're the Lakers looking at the Warriors get Schroeder? What do you think they're thinking?
Boy, I mean, man, they're stuck in kind of this like LeBron thing, right? I mean, he went away for a couple of games. Evidently this was just him wanting to kind of rest his body. He is old, you know.
He is old.
As we keep getting reminded. I mean, he comes back, and this is almost like one of those teams that like irritates you, right? He comes back, they look great for a day, and you kind of look at it like, oh, maybe, and then like reality is probably going to hit again. I think the fans are going to probably be disappointed in the sense that, right, I don't think they're going to be kind of in the mix for the Jimmy Butler, Zach LaVine, Brandon Ingram.
God, it's sure hard for them. It's sure hard for them to do that.
Yeah. So now you're going to kind of be bringing in, I'm guessing they'll probably look for like a big guy, for when Anthony Davis isn't on the floor to kind of, right, help kind of sustain things a little bit. But they're kind of in a tough spot because at the end of the day, right, if LeBron James isn't playing well, right, if he can't kind of maintain that pace, they're going to have problems. And again, the reality is he is old, right? You can't get it, and I'm surprised that he's still playing as well as he is, even, right, in a way. At some point the wheels have to fall off, right? I mean, it's very rare that you kind of see a guy just being able to kind of sustain that all the way into old age. I guess in a way we kind of saw Barry Bonds kind of do that in that.
Yeah, well, it's different.
Right, because they just got rid of him before
Yeah.
we saw his decline, whatever. But like, yeah,
and there were other chemistry factors
there might have
involved
been.
in that one.
Yeah. But he was still pretty decent the last year.
He was. Oh yeah, he had high OPS, all those things. The stat guys loved him. He was just like he was not get through another healthy season. It just wasn't going to happen. But yeah. I mean, hey, you could just put Bronny in there, 30-something points in the G League. Just drop him in. I'm sure he's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, you know what? The two games after that were okay too. So
he's just
not dropping 30 every night, but
put him in there. He's going to be just there. You go. There's your fix. They could use a Dennis Schroder. They could. They've had him.
Yeah.
They could. I was surprised. Like they did a lot of things in the last few years where like I thought they had good players and they just kind of let them go. Caruso obviously being the lead that everyone talks about, but there's other players like Schroeder's better than Cam Reddish, right? I mean, he's better than some of the other. Even letting go Lonnie Walker, maybe there was a reason for that, but I thought like those are guys that you can just like little pieces. They do some things that are really good for you. And can win some games, and they got a bunch of guys that I don't know that they can do that. And I'm not a Dalton Connect guy. I know everybody in LA loves him. I think he's okay. I think he was a fine draft pick, but like, oh my God, he's going to be rookie of the year. I don't know. I did not see that in the draft. I don't see it now unless he gets wide open shots. That you need guys who can hit wide open shots. The Warriors could use guys who hit wide open shots. I don't know he can always get wide open shots though.
Yeah.
Then otherwise, I don't know what he's going to do for you.
Yeah, and kind of like you mentioned, right? They've had a lot of guys over the years, a lot of really nice, guys that have gone on to different places and have made good careers, but the pieces don't just quite lock in nicely, right? And they get put in these positions again, right? The expectation is that they have to win. So it's like, okay, well, this isn't working. Let's try to rebuild on the perimeter, right, or on the periphery of the roster because we're not going to move the two big guys. And it just kind of winds up being this revolving door of a supporting cast, and that's
you see Taurean Prince for Milwaukee right now? He looks pretty good. And he was like run out of LA. The whole Darvin Ham. Oh my God, why are you playing him and not I don't know whoever else they wanted him to play? But Taurean Prince is not a bad player. He is not a bad player. And they just seems like they have these guys and they get impatient and they got to blame somebody. And not saying Taurean Prince would help you to the third seed, but it just seems like the impatience is so clear there. And then you go, D'Angelo Russell or whoever else. Like, is that what's going to get you this? I like other kinds of pieces than that. So, once again, I think, I am around a lot of people who get super impatient with the Warriors. And I get it, but you have to take the long view. You have to understand, like, you go through dips and then you still have Steph Curry. He can pull you out of that. And they still got some other players. The impatience is kind of the wrong way to look at this. Now, if you're the Lakers and you got a 40-year-old superstar, it's a little different. And I think LeBron puts the heat on them. He gets tired of players, no question. He's more tired of players. But then you start going, it's like the old, we just can't keep getting new players. You kind of if you have decent players, stick with this and go forward with that. But that's not the way the Lakers do it. That's not the way. And by the way, the Warriors are now more valuable than the Lakers. I guess it's been for a little while. They just put valuations on New Sportico. There's $9 billion and the Lakers are $8 billion. Oh, that cannot make Jeannie. Yeah, that cannot make Jeannie Buss happy. that cannot be thrilling for her. The Warriors are a money machine, as I've said for many years, but it is notable that they have leapfrogged the Lakers. And sad day for the Buss family and all people in LA. I'm sure you're all taking a hit on that one.
Yeah, I mean the press. Have you been to? It's not Staples anymore. Crypto. Like in the last couple of years. Did you go last year?
I was there last year. Yeah.
Did you? Okay, so the press dined, right? The press
they cut it down
changed because they had to like open this like weird club.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like something out of that. What was that show? It doesn't matter, but it looks kind of ominous back there. Right?
Yeah, I was like, what
they got
works?
The bars.
What works in the shadows? What's that one? The comedy vampire one? Yeah, it looks weird. It looks weird.
Yeah.
I walked past it. Yeah.
Right, but that to me kind of screamed like desperation almost, right? Because they knew the Clippers were going to go into. Well, I mean that's a whole different story. Mm-hmm. You got a new arena that nobody's going to now, But but that it did kind of reek, I thought, of a little bit of desperation. Like, oh no, this new thing's going to be opening. We got to do something, and they just like jam this club into a place where it doesn't really look right, Mm-hmm. So. Anyway, enough about the Lakers. I'll check. We can get back to them in 5 years.
Laker. What do you think about this stuff? Giants always being in kind of connected to Corbin Burnes. He's the kind of pitcher I think Buster Posey would be interested in. It was not Blake Snell. I think I made myself clear on that one. Got innings, workhorse. Went to St. Mary's. He's Arizona, I think. I can get that he'd want to be closer to the West Coast or on the West Coast, but man, if it's like $200 million, I don't know that that's wise for any starting pitcher whose peripherals aren't great. They're solid. They're kind of declining. Feels like a little bit agent inflated, but I don't know, Dylan. When you hear Corbin Burnes, why aren't the Dodgers in on him then? Why did they? I'm question some of that. We'll see. I think he's a solid pitcher. I'm not arguing that. If they sign him, that's fine. You go Webb and Burnes at the top of your rotation, and that's very, very solid. But I question that one a little bit.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, well, here's the thing too, right? Is I don't see him signing before Sasaki does, because I think right now every team, like every single team, has had to is going to bid on Sasaki. They have to, because it'd be negligent not to, right? Because if, you get this guy, he's at minimum salary, now, right? And maybe you do go get Burnes, right? Now you think like, well, you know what? We might have the best rotation in baseball if we add Burnes. And so maybe you do go out and get him. But I do think it really, that's a game changer for whoever gets him, except for maybe the Dodgers, frankly, right? For the Dodgers, I think there's just as much value in getting him, just to keep him away from the other teams, frankly, because you get a top 10, top 15 pitcher in the league.
That sweater, Dylan. That sweater's knocking you down. It's taking you out.
Man, my kid hasn't been to school like in a week. No, this is just lingering. But yeah, I think so I think Sasaki will sign first. And
that's January 15, Dylan. That's a ways from now. So you think
Scott Boras has never let the clock scare him?
That's true.
That's the one thing about Scott, right? Is he'll drag this into spring training if he has to.
Well, that didn't work out so well for Snell, but and Jordan Montgomery. But yeah, right. I mean, I could see it. I could see he needs to keep this market going. But at this point, unless it's for a number that's below 200, it might be even below 160, 180. I don't know. Other than he's a good pitcher. Like for the next 3 years, you'd feel really good with Webb and Burnes at the top, Burnes and Webb at the top, Willie Adames at short, Matt Chapman at third. You can see like, okay, we could sell this. We could get to 88, 90 wins with this and then try to knock off the Dodgers in the short series like other teams have done. Right. But man, it's a lot of money. I think you'd be pot committed for several years. Like, I think that would be it for several years. And maybe you want to keep your options a little more open. And maybe you want some more hitting because they could use some more hitting. Great pitching is wonderful, but you start going into these games against the Dodgers and Padres, you're going to want to score some runs too.
Yeah, one thing is it's interesting, right? To kind of to your point about Oracle, right, and being maybe a deterrent for hitters. I'm just looking, right? Conforto just signed with the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. I was looking at his home away splits, and it really kind of stood out.
Massive,
right? 3 home runs at home, 17 on the road last year.
Yep.
Right. 652 OPS at home, 852 on the road. I mean, he's a completely different player at that point.
Yeah, lefties at Oracle are very suppressed because that wing comes off the bay, at McCovey Cove, and it just knocks everything down. And it looks like a short porch. It is not. It is really hard to hit home runs there. I didn't think Conforto was very good last season, but I'm watching a lot of home games, right. And I understood Boris guy, right? There's a Boris guy. I'll just say this. I think I might have. I don't think Buster Posey's in it too much with the Boris guys. Right. And Willie Adames, CAA guy. What was Posey represented by in his player? Yep. CAA. Like sometimes those connections count. Sometimes they don't. But Corbin Burnes is a Boris guy. We'll see. Again, won't say it's not a mistake if you sign Corbin Burnes. He's a really good pitcher. But then why aren't the Dodgers so super hot for him then? Right. Why aren't the Yankees super hot for him? Why is he the Giants? Why is he only talked about by the Giants? I feel that's agent directed, and maybe he's directing him to the Giants. I just don't think that's $220 million. That's not what this is, in my opinion. Yeah, and I kind of have a feeling that market's not going to be there. And right to your point too, right now, Buster Posey, there's very little body of work at this point, right? We don't really know. I mean, I think the Adames thing gave us like a clue into what kind of executive he's going to be. We're not really sure yet, right? And so there is a bit of mystery there. And anytime, there's like regime change, Boris always takes advantage of those situations, right? New owner, he'll jump right in. Absolutely. New executive, he'll start telling people about, I got this guy coming and this guy, and this guy next season, and then 3 seasons, we got this guy, and this guy. And he's right in a lot of ways. He's not wrong. Yeah. It's just you have to pay his price. Right. And I think the Giants were a little worried that Farhan Zaidi was going down that lane. He was having to depend in Jung-Hoo Lee, and then Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, and wait a minute, who's it next season? Like, kind of want your own kind of pipeline. You don't want to be directed by Scott Boras necessarily, although he does have great. Juan Soto would not be a terrible person to have a pipeline in on. I shouldn't go too far on this. I think just some of this stuff is Scott Boras generated, not necessarily. Yeah. All right, now I'm sneezing, so let's get out of here, Dylan. All right. All right, everybody. Well, that's Dylan Hernandez, who's making me allergic from over the friggin' video phone because I am allergic to sweaters like that. Oh boy! Look at that! Legitimate on cue sneeze. Hey, I can't lie. This is itchy. This is really itchy. I can't wait to take this thing off right now. It's giving me hives just looking at this. But Dylan, thank you for bringing your cheer, your sunny face, and your gleaming red reindeer, whatever the hell this is going on with that sort of. So Plashke and Harris were wearing this stuff too? Yeah. Yeah, we did an hour like this. You guys are special. This is special entertainment. I just hope you guys watch this on the video. I had to watch it the whole time, and it's making me sick. So may you all get allergies watching Dylan Hernandez in the future. All right, everybody, show for today. Yeah.